Thank you all for joining. Welcome to our Georgia Recovers April webinar. Our topic today is going to be on successful reentry, a key to recovery and wellness for returning citizens. So as we get started, our agenda, we'll do a quick housekeeping review. We'll talk a little bit about Georgia Recovers, who we are, what we do. One of our amazing CIC members, Jimbo, will go ahead and introduce our speaker. And then you are going to hear from him. And then we'll, of course, leave time at the end for Q&A. So this webinar is being recorded, and a copy of it is going to be available on the Georgia Recovers website. You might also see some clips showing up in our social media over the next few months. Right now, all attendees are muted. We may have an opportunity to unmute at the end during Q&A. We'll just see how everything plays out. Please go ahead and use that Q&A panel in the bottom of your screen to ask questions. The chat is also available for general commentary. So I know my colleague Fallon is in the chat. So she will be in there communicating with you all. And of course, our speaker also has access as well. And our interpreter, Sarita, is going to remain spotlighted throughout the webinar. So if you need to adjust your view to see all the speakers or panelists, you can go ahead and do that in the top corner and then select speaker or gallery, whatever you prefer. You can also select a side-by-side view. You can also use the stream text link to access the live transcript of the webinar if you need that. So now I'll talk about Georgia Recovers. We are an evidence-based public health campaign that is aimed at reducing the prejudice and discrimination associated with substance use disorder in Georgia. This campaign is brought to you by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, also known as DBHDD, and it builds off of the pivotal work of the Georgia Council for Recovery. So we have three goals and objectives. One is we want to make sure we're increasing knowledge about about SUD, substance use disorder, and that recovery is not only possible, but probable. Second, we want to improve attitudes towards those living with and or in recovery from substance use disorder. And then lastly, we want to strengthen the capacity of our stakeholders. So that's all of you, organizations and individuals who are already doing this work. And we have three pillars of work. So one is our community connection. We connect with community organizations across the state. We also have our Community Impact Committee, or CIC, which helps to guide the direction of the campaign. Story sharing, which is very near and dear to all of our hearts, is kind of the bread and butter. It's the centerpiece of everything that we do. We collect stories of recovery and allyship, and then these stories are shared across our social media channels, so Instagram and Facebook. And then lastly is the education pillar, where we are changing attitudes by promoting messages that speak to hope and recovery, so combating that discrimination and prejudice that I mentioned previously. And of course, these webinars that are hosted bi-monthly to shed light on topics related to SUD. So at this time, I'm going to pass it over to one of our CIC members, Jimbo, to go ahead and introduce our speaker.
Hey, yeah, my name is Jimbo Parton, and I'm a person in long-term recovery, but I'm also a returning citizen from the judicial system. So when Jocelyn, Kayla, and myself were planning this webinar, it was kind of I know heartwarming, to say the least, that this is a topic that we all agreed upon, because it does hold a dear place in my heart. And so when thinking this thing through and trying to, come up with a speaker, I couldn't think of anyone better suited than Ladji. He's paved the way when it comes to the forensic peer mentor movement. Not only has he done that, and his lived experience in this area is invaluable, but he's also been a huge mentor and friend of mine as well. he's been very supportive with the program that Gardens of Hope currently has at the Toombs County Detention Center. Uh, he's encouraged me along the way. He's came and visited and sent other team members of his to come and check in. And, that means a lot. That means a lot when you're doing this work to have support from the higher ups. And I really value the experience and knowledge that he shared with me. And I'm looking forward to y'all gaining some of that insight as well, and letting him shed light on something that there's stigma surrounds it as well. So with no further ado, I introduce to you guys Ladji Ruffin.
Hey, thank you, Jimbo. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. So just definitely want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming out. And I like to just share my story. I think I'm authorized to tell my story. So to tie in with just my work to just help you just understand where, I came from and where why is my why, right? Why I do the things I do. My story begins as a teenager. Didn't really understand what was mental health or substance use disorder in my community. You either was called crazy if you have mental health challenges, or you a junkie. At this particular time, I didn't really understand. My family didn't understand what was going on with me, but I knew I didn't understand, and with that brought shame and pain, and I wanted people to feel the same pain that I feel. And that was wrong. That was wrong to hurt individuals. And I found myself spiraling out of control. Why me in front of a judge, looking at the judge and being sentenced to life. At this particular time, as a teenager, and now I want to be a kid. I want to be a child, but now I have to go into the adult world facing, have to do a life sentence. As I first went into the prison system, the interesting thing, it was individuals that came up to me that was there, and they knew what was going on with me. I came in, I'm mad, I was blaming everybody, but myself. I felt like nobody wasn't listening to me, was not really understanding what was going on with me. But the interesting thing, them individuals did, because, hey, they had the same lived experience that I was, and they came and they wrapped their arms around me. They really helped me understand and find my voice, because that was the first thing that I had to really learn how to effectively communicate my words, to really let individuals know how to help me help myself. And that right there began my recovery path, because I left a daughter, I left a family, but I had to learn to recover myself and live in recovery while I was in prison. As I was doing time and after years went by, I had a turn to help individuals that was coming in that was going through and experiencing the same thing that I was doing. And I was able to, get into classes, anger management classes, take a lot of classes to help me evolve. And after doing 17 years within the Georgia prison system, I came across a program called the Braille program, where I learned how to produce books for the blind. Within this particular trade, it allowed me to not only provide a service, but provide a more meaningful service to individuals with disabilities that could not see. And after I got my certifications, my math certifications in Braille, then I was blessed to be selected at the Governor's Mansion program, where it's a reentry program where you work at the Governor's Mansion and you be housed at Atlanta Transitional Center. This is where Governor Deal was the governor at the particular time, and he was real big on reentry. And he asked the question. This is the interesting thing. This is the governor of Georgia asking me and others there, how can we better assist You know, he wanted to say, how can we better assist individuals who coming out the criminal justice system to be successful? And we gave him our opinion, our lived experience, and advice. And the interesting thing, Governor Deal took all that and he created a facility called Metro Reentry Facility, where it was dedicated to help individuals with reentry and help them be more successful. And this is what he did as he was going out the office. 2016, August the 23rd, I call that my new birthday. This is when I was released after doing 23 years in the prison system. Governor Deal and Mrs. Deal, who hold dear to me, helped me transition back into the community and kept up with me and helped just continue to encourage me. I built my business, Authentic Braille Masters LLC, and I built it into an international powerhouse. And can y'all hear me? I know somebody was saying they can't hear me. Y'all can hear me? Okay. So within that, I learned and helped individuals that were coming out the criminal justice system, employed individuals. But my heart, I wanted to help individuals, you know, because I understand when you have a mental health challenge or a substance use disorder that you need help and support. So I learned about a program called a Forensic Peer Mentor Program, where individuals use their lived experience and they go back into the prison system and they help aid and assist individuals transitioning. Hey, sign me up. I was so happy and excited. So I became a certified peer specialist mental health, as well as I became a certified peer specialist AD, addicted disease. And this what started my journey as a forensic peer mentor. I worked at the time with Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. And the interesting thing, my site was Metro Reentry Facility, the same facility that Governor Deal created. And I just thought that was just very interesting and just how just God just moved within my life, that I was helped to just better assist individuals. So my forensic peer mentor journey has just been awesome, just walking individuals outside the prison, you know, helping them into their new life and their new world. I worked at Metro Reentry Facility for 5 years and help just continue to help support individuals. And then a beautiful thing, I was able to bring Governor Deal and Mrs. Deal back to the Metro Reentry Facility, where not only did they could see their work, but to see their work within me. I was able to go back to the Governor's Mansion program and help talk with the individual to help them know what recovery looks like and success looks like. And I just continue to just kind of with this particular movement. My educational accomplishments, where I'm very excited about, you know, I already told you I'm a CPS mental health as well as AD. I'm a national certified peer specialist. I'm a certified psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner. I graduated from Morehouse School of Medicine. And I just recently graduated from Mercer University, and I walk in May. Go Bears. So just loving that. And I'm a CIT crisis intervention team coordinator. I train with officers. How it's interesting how an individual that just is involved training with officers to really just teach them. It was the first of its kind, because normally they have individuals come in to tell their story, but I actually trained with the officers up in Athens, Athens Police Department, University of Georgia Police, as well as sheriffs, and it was a very meaningful training. I also work with the U.S. Attorney Office of Northern District, the federal government, been working with them since 2016, where we help support individuals that have gang ties as well as gun charges, and help just support individuals that call Project Safe Neighborhood. So I'm still continuing in that. They call it the Credible Messenger Program, and I still have ties to them and help kind of support that work. My new beginnings in 2023, the Department of Behavior Health and Developmental Disability created the first ever job inside government that was strictly solely for an individual that is justice impacted. This was very huge. Of course, we didn't get a lot of fanfare about it, but this was very huge accomplishment. This created my position where I'm currently in, where I oversee the Forensic Peer Mentor program as well as other programs that's across the state. And help support individuals within their recovery. Then built my team behind it, and I'm very excited about that. That I have actually a team where individuals that have lived experience with the criminal justice system, and as well as substance use disorder or well mental health, and they're working full time as forensic peer mentors. Having a life sentence, I was supposed to have been on parole for the rest of my life, but in 2022. I got my life sentence commuted. I no longer have a life sentence. All my rights were restored, except for my gun rights, and I voted for the first time. Very excited about that. I got married in 2020 to a wonderful wife. My wife, Tamika, we have a running joke. You know, she's a therapist. And I just said, I just married a therapist. It would keep me straight. But she's a very beautiful woman. She keeps me balanced. And also me and my family came together. And that's just one of the beautiful thing about it. And that's what really just recovery is. My Braille company, Authentic Braille Masters LLC, Governor Deal, created a children's book called Vito the Cat. And I am very excited that my company was able to transcribe it in Braille. Me and the governor has been around all over the state promoting his book as well as it promoting in Braille. So just love that my company is able to bring access to his book that are blind and visually impaired. The Forensic Peer Mentor program was a partnership between the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Department of Corrections, Department of Community Supervision, and Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, as well as iHope. And this partnership helped create the Forensic Peer Mentor program. And the beautiful thing about it, we are celebrated this month 10 years. 10 years to this day that the Forensic Peer Mentor program has been operating here in the state of Georgia. Forensic Peer Mentor, as I say, is a person that have lived experience with the criminal justice system, have lived experience either with substance use disorder or mental health challenges. One of the beautiful things I love to read this paragraph, what a forensic peer mentor and kind of embody it is that they operate from the perspective that everyone who lives with behavioral health diagnosis and criminal justice involvement has the capacity to recover and live successful lives of meaning and purpose in the communities of their choice, free from further criminal justice involvement. That's a beautiful thing. That's what really embodies the forensic peer mentor work. The forensic peer mentor, they have to be a certified peer specialist first, either mental health, addictive disease, or parent or youth. They go through the forensic peer mentor training, which is a 40-hour training. And after they go through that, if they're being onboarded within the prison system, they have to go through pre-service orientation. That's 32 hours with Department of Corrections. Then they go through the trainings where me or my staff help onboard them into the prison system, where we stay with them a week, help them get acclimated into the prison system, and then we support them along. So we do a lot of site visits. We support individuals along the way. Forensic peer mentors, we serve as connectors. We help individuals bridge gaps into the community. We link individuals, the ones who work in the prison system. They work with individuals from 3 to 18 months getting released, help them come up with a reentry plan, and then find resources around it. We have currently up under my department, we have 26 funded Georgia Department of Corrections sites. We have 19 prisons that are providers of Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, as well as iHope. You can see some of the prisons, Central, Baldwin, Johnson. We kind of spread all over. Then we have 5 transitional centers that that we are very proud of. And we in 2 integrated treatment facilities where basically they're just a program with individuals that have mental health challenges and substance use disorder co-occurring. So we have forensic peer mentors there that are doing an amazing job. I hope is doing an amazing job. Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network is doing an amazing job. And we just definitely love to definitely support them particular providers. We also have forensic peer mentors in the Department of Community Supervision. We have 7 sites that are in, Athens, to name a few, Atlanta, Lawrenceville, Macon, and they are doing wonderful. We have forensic peer mentors in the 10 accountability courts, and 5 assistant outpatient treatments where we have forensic peer mentors that's currently working. The free program, we have heard individuals that we work with when they return back home. A lot of times it's a lot of undressed trauma or undressed situations that happens between families. And we learned that when individuals return back home, they're not returning back home to welcoming communities or a lot of things. So we came up with the Family Reunification Education Empowerment Program, which we call a free program. And within that is broken up in two sections, where the first half of a participant identifies a family member or a support person. That family member support person got to go through the 14-week modules with them. Each week, like say for instance, it might be week 1, which is understanding mental health and substance use disorder. Week 1, the participant is going with the modules in the prison, and a family member, we got a forensic peer mentor engagement specialist out there that works with the family. And then after the weeks are up, they go through identifying natural support, dealing with resentment, rebuilding relationships. These are the modules that the individuals go through. And then when they're done, we go into the second half, what we call the family reunification plan, family sessions, where on Zoom, the individual that's in the prison sits with the forensic peer mentor, and then on the other end, it'd be the family member support person, and it'd be a therapist in the background and a forensic peer mentor, family engagement specialist, and we all go right back through the modules. Been very powerful sessions. We on our cohort 5, and they are doing amazing jobs with the individuals, helping support them, helping them through. We had one son that never found his dad on Ancestry.com. First time ever meeting his dad, but within this program, they was able to get on a path to recovery and help support, and they're doing good. So we are very proud of the free program. We just got another cohort that's starting, and we are definitely welcoming, and we ready to see what sparks out of that particular program. Our jail in reach. We have too many individuals that's going through our jail in reach. So our commissioner tasked us to create jail in reach, where we have a forensic peer mentor and we have a care coordinator that are case manager, and they go in the jails and they deal with the individuals that we call the familiar faces that just cycling, that jail is not good for them, that they need services. So the forensic peer mentors work with that, and we're very happy about that. Our 5 pilot sites are in Chatham County, which is Savannah, Hall County, which is in Gainesville, DeKalb County, which is in Decatur, Walton County, which is in Monroe, Georgia, and Lowndes County, which is in Valdosta. And we're just excited that now we're opening up 2 more sites in Henry County and Fulton County. So we are definitely growing. Our future projects. Traditionally, forensic peer mentors were funded out of the Office of Mental Health. So the gatekeeper was that individual had to have a mental health challenge. They can have a substance use disorder, it can be co-occurring, but the gatekeeper is that the individual had to have a mental health challenge. But we have really understood, and I understood within my lived experience, that we have individuals that just identify with substance use disorder. So I helped created the first ever forensic peer mentor that only solely deal with substance use disorder. And he's currently at Atlanta Transitional Center, and he is doing phenomenal. This is a partnership between my office, the Office of Adult Mental Health, as well as the Office of Addicted Disease. And we are gathering data, and we have got some real good data, and we're looking, hopefully, fingers crossed, that we'll expand it to more sites and more people. And that means more jobs. So we're excited about that. We also have first ever, well, let me back up. Traditionally or historically, DBHDD funded the Forensic Peer Mentor Program. But now we have another state agency that really love the work that we do in the Department of Juvenile Justice, and they currently now house the forensic peer mentors to help the individual use. Very excited about that. I'm very excited to be able to advocate for that, to push it, and to create it. Our first FPM in DJJ is doing phenomenal and good. I helped train them, help support them, and continue. And DJJ said that they're going to continue to evolve and continue to add more positions. So we are definitely very excited. It was an 18-month lift, but we are here now. We're very excited that now it's up and running. Success stories. This one individual here I worked, he did 20 years within the prison system, never had a banking account, never opened nothing, didn't even see the inside of a bank. But I walked with him into Wells Fargo to help support him into opening his first banking account. He got his own business. He's doing very good. I think he hauled trucks on something called a hot shot where he hauled like cars and stuff like that all over the United States. And he is doing phenomenal. But this is right here, just the power of the Forensic Peer Mentor Program. So now I'll turn it back over to Jimbo for questions and answers. Thank you.
Actually, I'm gonna pop in. Am I on screen? Did I hide myself? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, this is Jody. I'm somewhere. I'll try to figure that out. Boom. I'm back. Okay. So yes, we do have some questions for you, Ladji. Also, if you have questions, could you either raise your hand or you could drop it in the chat or use the Q&A feature. So there's 3 options for you. If you raise your hand, I will assume that you want to come off mute and on camera, and so I will unmute you so that you'll be able to actually speak to him directly. But we do have some questions for you, so I'll go ahead and get started. So this person says, I am a house manager for a recovery home for women, a 12-month program. Many of our women come to us straight from prison and others have been incarcerated. What suggestions would you give us to make that second transition from our recovery residents to living on their own?
That's definitely a good question. What we have learned is that it's no cookie cutter approach to individuals. We understand now that women need a little bit more extra and different approach because, traditionally most individuals dealing with men and a lot of women was not getting the support that they really need. So, my suggestion is that, unfortunately, 2 of the things that kind of like swim around is mental health as well as substance use disorder. But we have to think about the traumatic effects of what incarceration does to an individual, traumatize an individual. And the beautiful thing about it, what we need to do is try to get a support group, a supportive people around the individual. We can send people to programs all the time, but until we get supportive individuals around that individuals to make them seem whole, and their support system can look a lot different. It don't always have to be prison or incarcerated center, because we always have to understand that this individual is trying to rebuild their life, and their life looks a whole lot different. You know, we could talk about mental health, we could talk about substance use, but it's other things like how they're going to navigate back into their families, how they're going to navigate back into the community, how they're going to be able to work a job and learn how to job. You know, these are the things that we have to just kind of just work on more and pay attention to. And then, to be honest with you, listen to the other individual, right? And help them. Because I got a saying, everybody got to participate in their rescue. They come from an environment that they just basically just come to you and say, hey, save me. I don't know nothing, right? I don't know anything. I don't just save me. So what we have to do is we have to help them and empower them individuals and help just put that mirror up there and say, hey, you are worthy of to be participating in your own life, and empower them. So when you're empowering them and helping them empower themselves, then they can tell you what they really actually need. But we always have to remember that we have to keep pushing them to put their hands on the steering wheel versus us. We always feel that we know better than them, but to be honest with you, they know better because it's their life. And I always say I try to work myself out of a job. So I hope that right there answers everything, and making sure that they know where to get services at and how to access it. Because unfortunately, trauma and crisis don't have a time. Like crisis only from 9 to 5. Crisis might be 3 in the morning. That individual need to know how to access when they're in crisis, or they are feeling different, or they feel like they're fixing to do something wrong. We got to put supportive stuff around them to help them better access the systems and be, as they say, straightforward within their life. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, that's so good. Is this just a follow-up to that? You know, you talked about pretty much creating like a wraparound support cushion. Is this something that a forensic peer mentor would support somebody with, like locating those resources?
Yes, that's pretty much their job. Forensic peer mentors must identify everything, every services that will help fit that individual. It's a tailor-made program to that individual to help support them.
Awesome. This question says, what do you think is the best way for those of us who have not ever been incarcerated to best relate to those who have?
Listen. The biggest thing is listening. Decrease yourself thinking that you know everything, or just because somebody say something that you might not agree with, that it's the shock. Oh my God. It's just like, I give you an example. I remember I was working with an individual, and he said that he want to be the first strip club owner in Athens. I don't agree with strip clubs, but I told him, I said, well, okay, that's how that look. First, you got to know about business. I got to know about licenses. You got to know about this and know about that. And so then, the individual ended up becoming a business owner, but he became in something different in lawn care, right? So, it's just like when somebody come to me and say, hey, I want to be an astronaut. We're not just saying, man, you ain't be no astronaut. You ain't got no G. You don't got none of it, right? But we dare to just kind of just listen and help support a person and make a person feel safe. So then you can really just understand the individual and come to the individual as a person. I understand that a person being incarcerated, but we should not be defined by our worst moment. And I'm going to say that again. We should not be defined by our worst moment. We are people just like everybody else. We're human beings like everybody else. I don't go to my grandson, and just because he did something wrong yesterday, that I'm just going to continue to bring that up. No, I'm just going to continue to raise them and help support them. So to me, I think that that's one of the biggest things you can do. So then you can start educating yourself as well, to be trauma informed, to make sure that you're not, contributing to the individual stepping back, but making the person just feel whole. And I think that approach is a good approach. And as you say, educating yourself on actually what the person needs. If you know people in the community that have jobs, if you know people in the community, because you are part of the community and you should need to become an advocate as well, because you go to church, you go to work, and just because you're not incarcerated, they need voices for individuals that say, hey, what about, you might know somebody that own a house, and you say, have you ever thought about, renting to individuals that didn't, that have a criminal background? And you can help advocate for that. And most likely, if the person trusts you, they say, well, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So you can also become an advocate as well of services that traditionally discriminate against individuals that have criminal justice background.
So good. This question is from Jocelyn, and Jocelyn, feel free if you want to jump on camera off mute, let me know. The question says, how can we make referrals for individuals who are still incarcerated? I serve a peer who has not been offered any assistance with past releases. He's cycling back in the system now, unfortunately. He just had 18 months of parole revoked for technical violations. He has begged for assistance, and he has past gang involvement and gun charges. He would love to have a chance to enter into TC. I have advocated with parole and counselors. Where do you suggest I help him access these services?
Okay, let me understand. So he's still incarcerated. So
And
one thing,
Jocelyn, sorry, real quick, Jocelyn, I think I allowed you to unmute. So if you need to answer anything that Ladji has a question about, you can do that.
okay. So yes, if the individual is still incarcerated, only thing, I suggest is that he just continue to write, continue to, go up the chain, to help, get him to where he needs to go. If he's looking for housing, that you can talk with, I'll put my email in the chat where I can send you some referrals for individuals that have housing to help support. If he's also in the community, I also would suggest reaching out to our regional offices. You can go on our DBHDD website to see where our regional offices are at. And at times you can connect with our region office that's in that particular area, and they can help get you some supportive support around the individual, so he can be, when he return, he can be successful. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, that was a great question. Jocelyn, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. I was curious why they're still in the prison system, because we, like I said, reached out to the counselors who are in the prison system too. And that's what I was asking was, is there somewhere else that we reach out to while they're still in prison, while he's still facing that, or do we just reach out to the regional DBHCD or providers that are in that region of that prison system?
Yeah, we can help support them, but as far as his parole pardons and parole board are over releasing. So if he wanted to, or you wanted to write the parole board on his behalf to let them know that you're there to support him, that cannot hurt or help. I mean, that cannot hurt. I'm sorry, cannot hurt. So I would just do that as well, to let them know that he does have support, of solid support, because they, unfortunately, the Department of Corrections is not in charge of releasing him. It's the parole board. The Department of Corrections just house him. The parole board have to release him. So I just encourage him to just write and just contact with them, and then hopefully that will help. Now that's not a silver bullet. We understand that we have individuals currently in the system longer than normal. It's not really no rhyme or reason why they're let go. It can be many factors. A lot of times it's the victim, the people that they that is not comfortable of this individual being released. There can be a lot of factors that it's kind of hard to put our thumb on. So only thing I could just say just with him, just making sure that he stay out of trouble, make sure that, he just continuing to be, to get into service or anything that he can get into at his institution, even advocating, even try to put in paperwork if he wanted to go to another facility. But like I said, these are not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed, but he can work on his release that way. And then having the advocacy from the other side, writing a parole board and saying, hey, we're here to support him or whatever he needs. And then hopefully that might help. Thank you for the question.
The next question is from Rosa. Rosa says, is there direct contact for you or your organization? And is there a resource list that can be shared for those that have already come out of the jail or prison?
They can reach out to me. I put it in the chat. They can reach out to me, or you can reach out to the two providers, Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network or iHope. And also we have recovery community organizations throughout the state, like with Jimbo, with Gardens of Hope. They do a lot of work within the community. I have learned as I'm going up and down the state, there are a lot of recovery community organizations that are doing phenomenal work in South. They always say it ain't no resources in the South, but I beg to differ. They are really doing the work, and they just, unfortunately, they just don't get the spotlight, right? But they don't do it for the spotlight, and that's what makes it beautiful about it. So you can go on Georgia Council of Recovery website, and they got where all the RCOs are at. And you can just reach out to them if they're in a particular area. And then, like I said, you can suggest to look on our DBHDD website and find our regional offices and just making connection with them, because they know what's in the region. They are help with a lot of providers and help support a lot of providers in the area. So sometimes it's good to, when you narrow your focus, just to kind of just go from there, because the RCO, just like with Jim regarding the Hope, where they at, you could contact them, and they have been in the community. They know what's going on in there. They could tell you, where actually the stuff where to look at. And I hope that what I said helps you. Thank you for your question.
All right, let's keep those questions coming. Sarah, I see you dropped something in the chat. If you could did you have a question that you wanted to ask? Okay, I'm gonna go back to the list. From your experience, what are the most significant misconceptions about reentry for returning citizens?
One of the misconceptions that, they always say, once a felon, always a felon. And unfortunately, a lot of individuals who come out the criminal justice system believes that, because through their, their lived experience, or just they feel that they need help. But to be honest with you, it's a lot of individuals that come out the criminal justice system and doing phenomenal, right? And they're doing where, just unfortunately, this don't make the news. It just only make the news when somebody has, committed another crime or got locked back up. But it's a lot of individuals within the communities that are doing very good. And it's a lot of support. Unfortunately, of course, the supports are not on the billboard. But when we connect to organizations like Georgia Council of Recovery and Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network and iHope and many other RCOs that are across the nation and in the state of Georgia, they are doing some phenomenal work. And they are really dispelling that myth and that misconception that once a felon, always a felon, or we're not doing, or they're not doing, or is not no jobs out here. We understand the environment that we live. It's hard for people who don't have a criminal conviction now. But we always just tell individuals just to continue to just support each other, support the work. Make sure that you have a community around you of supporters. So when you're feeling alone, that you have somebody there to help support you and become a mirror. I'm not an anomaly. Yes, I have accomplished a lot, but it's many people. I just was down at Dooley State Prison with a gentleman that came out the Georgia prison system for a violent charge, went to do college at Benedict College, went to law school at Ohio State, and he came back and became assistant prosecutor at Fulton County. That's unheard of. And I'm talking about now. His name is James White. Very phenomenal story. Matter of fact, we just left there and people were just at all like, that can't happen. But it's a lot of individuals, I'm telling you, it's a lot of individuals that I'm running into that are doing phenomenal work. It's just that, their stories don't be publicized. And it's places like this that, and that's what really drew me to this platform here, that their job solely is to share stories of individuals that are doing the work. And that is important, getting the word out that people are doing phenomenal work. Like what Jimbo and I'm doing and what many others are doing across the state, like they are doing phenomenal. So to me, that's the misconception. Well, thank you for your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And shameless plug, if you'd like to share your story with us, we'd love to hear it. Fallon can drop the link in the chat. We would reach out to you. We've shared some amazing stories thus far of people from all walks of recovery, but involvement with the carceral system is a common thread in many folks' stories, and we share it. We talk about that and don't shy away from it because it's all about sharing the hope. And like you said, it's not focusing on just one part of a person's life, but who we all are as humans and humanizing recovery. This question is a little different. It says, what are some of the self-care strategies that you recommend for peers working in this field?
That's definitely a good question. Because, I think when we get in this field, I just use myself as an example. I just want to I'm on 100 all the time, right? When I first started, I would just, want to help and save. And I remember a guy asked me, say, hey, what you do, for your self-care, what you do. And me, I'm going down the laundry list. I like to do stuff with my grandson. I like to do this with my family. And they just kept stopping me like, no, what you want to do that's not connected to anyone, right? And that's kind of hard, right? It's hard to kind of like, but what I have learned is that to do things that first I have to find out what makes me really happy, me, not attached to my work. I love my work, but not attached to my work, but just attached to me where I only see me instead of just saying, yes, it's good to do activities with individuals, but sometimes it's good to do it with yourself, right? If it's just going up a mountain, but do things different. Sometimes we do the same self-care, right? We might take a walk in the park, or we might get our, haircut or our fingernail painted, but try to do something different. Try to mix it up. Try to push yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when I went tubing. At first I'm like, man, I ain't going tubing. What's going on? But I loved it. I loved every minute of it, even though I fell in the water a couple of times, and I'm glad, nobody didn't see me. But I really enjoyed myself. So that's what kind of self-care tips I would just suggest, that you do things with yourself. It's okay. It's okay to go to the movies by yourself. It's okay to just sit and quiet. It's okay to look at a comedy that you ain't looked at in a while, or just good just to be connect. One thing that I do, that I make sure after I get off, after 4 o'clock, this phone here is off. It's off. I do not take no more calls. I don't take no more emails. And definitely on Sunday, I don't take nothing. My phone don't even be on Sunday, right? And, so this is a couple of my self-care tips that I had to force myself, because we got to get away from these devices, be on them, and it be hard. But sometimes I cut them off and I feel so much better and I learned this when I was a forensic peer mentor, because we couldn't carry our phones in the prison system. And at first, boy, that unnerved me. But to be honest with you, it felt good. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing this more. Unplugging from my phone, unplugging from devices, and I just want to just be centered with me. So that's what I just definitely suggest you do, because that's important within this work. We got to take care of ourselves. Like we take care of cars, we take care of our TV, our home, and everybody else. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're not going to be in a position to really help and support others. We got to take care of ourselves. You remember, when you're on the plane, they say, when the mask come down, put your mask on first before you put the mask on your child or anybody else. Because if you try to put the mask on and then you pass out, then that child or that person that's going to support you, you're not going to be there for them because you're going to be out. So put your mask on first, so then you can better assist them. And then, so it's that same technique that I have learned when riding planes, that I got to take care of myself. Thank you for the question.
Great feedback. I want to circle back to Rosa's question about the resources. I think you said you were going to drop a link or maybe your information. Her question was direct contact for your organization. Is there a resource list that can be shared for those that have already come out and finding that reentry is difficult? So like jobs, housing, etc. So if you have that.
Like I said, I just said, just go on Georgia Council of Recovery, look up where the RCOs are at, contact with them because they're in the community day in and day out. Like I said, contact Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, contact IHOPE, contact provider. And like I said, when you go on our website, dvhdd.gov, just look for our regional offices and they'll show you what regions they're in and where their contact list is at. And then just contact with them because our regional offices are set up within the regions to communicate with all the providers and resources in that particular area. So that would help you narrow down your search. I mean, I can give you a resource list, but the resource list might be from Atlanta and you trying to look for somebody in Statesboro. So, it's good to try to connect with individuals that's on the ground, that's in real time, that can get you some real time updates. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Catherine dropped the Georgia Council for Recovery website in the chat. Thank you, Catherine. So we have a few more minutes. I have some additional questions. However, I'd like to just make sure I give folks who are here live the opportunity. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute your mic so you can ask. And Ladji just dropped his email in the chat. Okay, let me go ahead and unmute you, Kayla. All right, you should be good to go. Oh, you'll have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, what about now?
Yep, all good.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. It was uplifting. My question is this, I put it in the chat, but it's a constant struggle. I work for RCO, the Connection for Sight. Whether it's peer coaches or even the people we coach, there's this circle. And because of the fatigue sometimes, keeping those boundaries up has been a challenge. We have somebody come in and, reinforcement on the boundaries, but I'm just curious to know with the program and the people you work with, how do you approach that boundaries for you and then, it laying it out to them?
I'm always a big thing that we got to teach people how to treat us, and we just have to follow up on the consequences. I think that when we do set boundaries, we don't follow up on the consequences because we don't feel like, we don't want to be too hard or that we're going to lose the person. But sometimes, they're just with anything and everything that we have to follow up on the consequences, and we just have to stand firm on our boundaries because how it goes. When somebody say a little crack, oh, she said, okay, you can do it this time. See, you ain't following up on the consequences. And unfortunately, when we dealing with peers within the field and they're not really quite ready yet, We just have to stand firm on our boundaries. Like, I remember they used to ask me for money all the time because, in their mind, they think because I run a business, I got money coming out my pocket. But yes, I want to help individuals, but I had to learn to stick with my boundaries. And my boundaries, and I hard press. So now they don't bother me about money and they don't bother me for other things. But they keep trying. But I'll just say just follow up with the consequences and you have to just stand firm because boundaries help protect the peer we serving and they will protect us as well as providers to make sure that we're not doing nothing wrong or somebody get a misconception.
But what about your peer coaches? Sometimes young to this, and they start to deviate and go way beyond because of their heart. And so having to bring them back to what we do. What's your experience been with that?
This is why we train a lot. My office trains forensic peer mentors, and our providers do a very good job with making sure that forensic peer mentors got what they need and help support them, and we support them as well. So, this is where the refresher courses come in at. This is where the check-ins come in at with our forensic peer mentors. We kind of monitor their reports. The one thing I say, Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network and I Hope does a very good job with just kind of I ain't gonna say the word manage, but support they forensic peer mentors and they staff. So, I would definitely encourage you to talk with other RCOs, talk with them to just see what work and what not work and what trainings maybe you could send individual to help kind of just sharpen them up and making sure that they stay the course.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Awesome. Any other questions? We have 1 minute left. I want to make sure we're maximizing on our time.
Keep coming back.
Ladji, thank you so much for. Oh, did you have another question, Kayla?
Oh, no, picking up papers.
Okay.
Oh, I never unraised a hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ladji, thank you so much for the wealth of information that you've provided us with here today, and for answering these questions. I'm sure I learned a lot, and I'm sure all the attendees here learned so much. So looking forward to amplifying this once it goes live on our website, where people will be able to access it continuously and share it out with others. Thank you all for attending today. We appreciate your continued support. Fallon did drop our links in the chat. So our Linktree link, which links to everything else. But then also, again, if you'd like to share your story, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you'd like to become a partner with the program, we would love to have you as well. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.